I wanted to also say we had last night a really wonderful phone call from our old spiritual hub, Dharamsala. We got a call from the Dalai Lama's doctor, our old friend, Dr. Tsetan, who is in very, very strict quarantine because he is His Holiness's doctor. And whenever he's called, he has to be completely virus free. So that's why he's having a lot of time in his apartment waiting for possible calls. But he said that His Holiness the Dalai Lama said this funny thing, which is we should think of karuna instead of corona, which I thought was funny, but also very apt, because in a way, the one thing that we really need in these times is developing our sense of interconnectedness. And from that sense of interconnectedness, a sense of kin, of family, of compassion. And that seems to me right now where the world is going back and forth, kind of teetering and tottering between self-interest, self-preoccupation, maybe selfishness, and exclusion and inclusion, thinking of others as much as of self, or maybe more, and from that, an ethics of an ethics of compassion. So an ethics of interdependence, which I actually really like that term. You know, it's like we have to create a new ethics of interdependence, which is, as we see everybody as kin, as family, as related to us, we cannot exclude anybody. And the other thing that was really interesting from His Holiness's doctor's talk was that he thought, he mentioned that people in India actually fare fairly well with the coronavirus, maybe less well in the big cities, but in the countryside, there aren't as many cases. And he thought that would help us, whether we are getting the virus or not, but in a way sustaining ourselves through is a strength of spirit. And he thought that we are looking very much at let's say, population density, at even hot and cold, at, you know, how healthy we are, all kinds of different points of research. But what is really important too is to work on our strength of spirit, which he thought was coming from a sense of determination for a cause greater than ourselves, a sense of meaning, and a sense of purpose and connectedness. And I thought that was really importantly said, because it's true, that really isn't research. No, what do you think, Michael? Do you remember anything else from our conversation?
No, I think that's the key points. I think, yeah, just you said at the beginning, and I'm not sure everybody got that, the difference, but His Holiness saying the difference between karuna and corona. Corona, obviously the virus, but karuna, Karuna, being compassion in action. And I thought that was just a nice way of putting it.
So Michael will give us the talk today, but I will start with a meditation. So make yourself comfortable. Let yourself settle into the sensations in your body. Notice the touch between your body and the chair, the cushion, the ground. And notice the space, the field within and around you. And imagine being part of this vast, limitless, expansive field. The unlimited web of life. Which you are situated in. Like one pearl in Indra's net. And within this wide perspective, again notice your body. The connection between body and seat and ground. And if you like, choose one quality that you like to see strengthened today. And you might take the quality of trust. There's the little trust in events right in front of us and relationships. And there's the big trust that life, despite all its ups and downs, will unfold just the right way. Let yourself connect with this longing for this deep trust. Trust in life itself. Trust in your place in it. And then in your mind's eye, imagine a figure, somebody you met or you heard about or you have in your spiritual, religious or philosophical or literary landscape. Imagine a person who exemplifies this trust. This trust in life and the wisdom and compassion that goes along with it. And imagine this being, whether it might be the Dalai Lama, St. Francis, Mother Mary, Krishna, whoever it is for you, or just the big tree next door. That being that exemplifies wisdom, compassion, and this kind of trust. And imagine this being and let their support for you settle inside your heart. And from that feeling, that felt sense inside your heart, let a longing arise for all beings to be free, all humans and animals, creatures, the world, Gaia. And that your life's work, your efforts will contribute to the happiness and to the decrease of suffering of beings. And with that intention, longing, and internal support, begin your practice. Allow your back to be strong. Strong back, symbolizing courage. And an open, receptive, vulnerable heart, chest. Symbolizing open-hearted caring. And allow your face to relax, your jaw to drop. Your shoulders to let go. Breath flowing through the area of your chest where your heart is. Belly softening. Your whole body being filled with presence. with loving awareness. Loving awareness filling the space within and around you. And from this very wide perspective, notice breath arising with the inhale, letting go with the exhale. Feeling every instant of the in-breath. Feeling every instant of the out-breath. Feeling your whole body, your posture, just for the next breath to brush in. Breath arising out of this field of becoming and falling back into it. Letting go, letting go. Touching in with body. Allowing breath to brush in naturally. Being aware of every moment of in-breath, every moment of out-breath, touching in this posture, breath brushing back in. Be aware of every instant of the cycle of breath. And allow your body to be breathed. Your whole being to be breathed. Noticing every instant of the in-breath, every instant of the out-breath. Letting go, letting go, letting go. breath brushing in naturally. And allow your whole body to be breathed. For breath to breathe you. Letting yourself be breathed by the big breath of life. Surrendering to the big breath of life that connects us all. And when there's a thought, a feeling, a worry, a sound, just notice it passing through all by itself. Always returning to your anchor, touchstone, refuge. The sensation of breath as it arises from body and field. Life breathing you.
Thank you. So the other day, for some reason, these lines came into my head. I don't know if they're from a longer poem, but they're written by the American poet William Carlos Williams. He says, it's difficult to get the news from poems. It's difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. It's difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. And I'm not sure if it was the following morning. I think perhaps it was. I was my usual morning routine, walking down the hill close to our home with the dogs first thing in the morning. And it was just a beautiful, clear morning. The sky was clear. The sun was just coming up through the trees. And I was just, held in this bowl of birdsong and trees, and noticing the flowers that are blooming after the rain, and just so much grass, so green, which is so unusual for this part of the world, but just held in this beauty. And there was an acorn woodpecker nearby, and there were little towies on the ground, these little brown birds that always move around in pairs, kind of talking back and forth among themselves. And there was this mockingbird down by our neighbor's hedge. I think they must be nesting down there, and they sing all day and all night, but he was there. And the sun was coming through the branches of the trees in front of me. And I was in the middle of all of this, and suddenly I had the thought, I have my cell phone in my pocket, and I could, as I often do, I admit, during the day, pull it out and very quickly read the news headlines from the New York Times, just as a way of kind of catching up with what's happening. So I kind of had this thought. And as I had this thought, I kind of just had this, could feel the seductive, addictive pull there. I know so well to do just that. It would have been just so easy, just a little swipe on my phone, and I get to see what's happening with the pandemic and with Trump and with Fauci and on and on. But then for some reason, those lines from William Carlos Williams came back into my head. It's difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. And I just kind of paused, and I just got to thinking, that the news we get from poems is very different to what we get from the New York Times or NPR or TV or Facebook or Instagram. It's an altogether other type of news. The news we get from poems is it's new as in fresh. It's news as in original. It's new as in close to the source. And it's closer to the type of news I was getting, that morning as I stood there in this bowl of beauty. And just at that moment, I noticed, how the dogs, the sunlight was coming through the branches and just catching the dog's fur. And I thought, that's the kind of news, this beauty that I'm just receiving through the natural world. That's the kind of news that makes me new, that makes me fresh, that brings me back to the source, to what's original and healing and creative. And the choice is ours. We get to choose what we attend to. We get to choose what kind of news we listen to. And it really matters what choice we make. The great psychologist, great American psychologist, William James says, what we attend to becomes reality. What we attend to becomes reality. We get to choose in every moment what we pay attention to. We get to choose in every moment what becomes reality. And that kind of brings me to where I kind of want to go as I come towards an end, and that is to another great American poet, Mary Oliver, whose life's work was about paying attention. and paying attention to the kind of news we get from poems, which is the kind of news we get from the natural world. What I want to share with you and read to you are two poems of Mary Oliver's. And they both describe a similar incident. Mary Oliver, I'm sure all of you have heard of Mary Oliver, an amazing poet and very much a nature poet. And her routine was to get up very early every morning before dawn, and she used to walk this circuit. I think is it up in Cape Cod or Martha's Vineyard up in that area where she lived. And she used to walk along the seashore and around the lake and through the pines. And she brought a little notebook and a pencil with her, and that's where she used to kind of just get her inspiration. And she used to observe, pay attention, and then the little thoughts that went into her notebook became the seeds that became her poems. So the first of these poems of hers is called 5 a.m. in the Pine Woods. So there she is out in the morning, 5 a.m. in the pine woods. I'd seen their hoof prints in the deep needles, and I knew they ended the long night under the pines, walking like two mute and beautiful women towards the deeper woods. So I got up in the dark and I went there. They came slowly down the hill and looked at me, sitting under the blue trees. Shyly they stepped closer and stared from under their thick lashes, and even nibbled some damp tassels of weeds. This is not a poem about a dream, though it could be. This is a poem about the world that is ours, or could be. Finally, one of them, I swear it, would have come to my arms, but the other stamped sharp hoof in the pine needles like the tap of sanity, and they went off together through the trees. When I woke, I was alone. I was thinking, so this is how you swim inward. So this is how you flow outward. So this is how you pray.
Mm.
And then she wrote a second poem called The Pine Woods. She wrote this many years later, but in this second poem, she remembers and she's reminded of that earlier encounter with those two deer in the forest. The Pine Woods. This morning, two deer in the pine woods in the 5 a.m. mist, in a silky agitation, went leaping down into the shadows of the bog, and together across the bog and up the hill and into the dense trees. But once, years ago, in some kind of rapturous mistake, the deer did not run away, but walked towards me and touched my hands. And I have been ever since separated from my old comfortable life of experience and deduction. I have been ever since exalted. And even now, though I miss the world, I would not go back. I would not be anywhere else but stalled in the happiness of the miracle. Every morning I stroll out into the fields. I believe in everything. I believe in anything. Even if the deer are wild again, I'm standing under the dark trees. They're still walking towards me. Thank you, Mary Oliver. And so then I'd like to lead you in a meditation.
Thank you, Michael. This was very special.
Thank you. So I invite you to close your eyes and to allow your awareness to drop down into your body, all the way down to the ground, all the way down to the sensations of contact between your feet and the ground, between your seat and the chair, your seat and the cushion. And for just a few moments, allow your awareness to rest in those sensations of firmness and solidity. And when you're ready, I invite you to allow your awareness to rise up and fill the whole space of your body, from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head, mindfully aware. And as you're mindfully aware within your body, I invite you in your mind's eye, in your imagination, to imagine you're sitting on a rock in the center of the forest. Trees all around you. And imagine as you sit on this rock in the middle of the forest, just for a moment, imagine closing your eyes and bringing all your attention once more to the sensations of contact between your feet and the earth, between your seat and the rock you're sitting on. And allow yourself to be held in these sensations of firmness and solidity. And with your eyes still closed, in your mind's eye, bring all your attention to the sensations of hearing. Imagine your ears are wide open doors, receiving the sounds of the forest, receiving the silence of the forest. And for just a little while, listen into the landscape, listening for the quietest sound. And simply allow yourself to hear what you're hearing. If your mind comes in with analysis or naming or labels or thoughts, as soon as you notice this, relax. Let go of the thought or the analysis, the naming, and allow your awareness to drop back one more time into the raw sensations of hearing what you're hearing. When you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes and slowly to look around you as you sit there in the middle of the forest. Noticing the trees, noticing their branches, following the flow of the branches upwards into the canopy of leaves, canopy of green. Notice any movement. Notice the quality of light. And as you watch the leaves, as you look into the canopy, I invite you, if you can, to notice one leaf among the thousands, perhaps millions of leaves and needles in the canopy overhead. Notice one leaf that catches your eye. Bring all your attention to that one leaf. Is it moving? Is it still? Notice its shape. Notice the veins in the leaf. Notice any little marks or colorations. Become familiar with that one leaf. When you're ready, I invite you to close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I invite you to allow your awareness to drop back down into your body. And I invite you to notice where in your body you're most aware of the sensations of breath. The sensations of the rising breath. The sensations of the falling breath. And I invite you to allow your awareness to alight on the sensations of breath, like a feather on a wave. Sensations of the rising breath, sensations of the falling breath. And allowing your awareness to be carried on the rising breath and the falling breath. And as your body continues to breathe, I invite you once more to open your eyes and to look back up at that one little leaf. And as you continue to breathe, to know that your falling breath, the exhale of the falling breath, you're releasing carbon dioxide. And with the rising breath, with the rising of the in-breath, you're receiving oxygen. Your exhale is little leaf's inhale. Your inhale is little leaf's exhale. You and little leaf are breathing each other into life. And I invite you to release all with the exhale. Releasing all, knowing that you're releasing what little leaf and all the leaves of the forest and all the blades of grass and all the algae and all the plankton. With your exhale, you're releasing what they need to make energy, to make food, to be alive. And I invite you to receive all with the inhale, knowing that you're receiving oxygen from little leaf and all the leaves of the forest and all the grasses and all the plankton and all the algae. Release all with the exhale. Release all with the falling breath. And as you release the carbon dioxide, release everything you've been holding on to. Release all the pain, all the worry, all the fear. This is all energy to be released into the web of life. And receive all with the inhale, knowing that with the oxygen of your inhale, you're receiving all that you need to be alive. Releasing all with the falling breath of the exhale. Receiving all with the rising breath of the inhale. For a little while, receiving all, releasing all. Allow yourself to be carried in this effortless, reciprocal exchange. Know with Kabir, something inside me has reached to the place where the earth is breathing. Something inside me has reached to the place where the earth is breathing. Allow yourself to be carried in this effortless, reciprocal exchange. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings everywhere be free. And may I become all that I need to become to best enable this to happen for all our relations.
So we will unmute you. And wondered if you had comments or questions. I actually have a question for you, Michael. I really love this meditation, and I wanted to ask you, how does this meditation help you when you go during the week to the hospital and work with all your very ill patients? How does that?
Well, in truth, I mean, coming back to what I was talking about earlier, the difference between little news and big news, you know, the news we get from our news media and the news we get from poems, poetry, or from nature, or from spiritual practice. In truth, when I'm in my everyday work, I'm kind of in little news most of the time. You know, so it's hard for, you know, that's the kind of you know, that's the default I find myself in. But occasionally, I think, you know, occasionally if I do take a pause and I stop and I look at a tree and I bring my attention to the sensations of my breath, I might do a little practice, a little bit like the meditation, where I just am, you know, with the sensations of the exhale, kind of release all, knowing that I am releasing all to the tree, and with the sensations of the inhale, receive, knowing that I am receiving from the tree. And that, you know, as I do that, I'm stepping from little news into big news, from the, maybe just for a moment, or else it happens without any kind of deliberate practice like that. It happens in a moment of encounter with somebody who is just sort of deeply real and open and heartfelt, and just being privileged to be with a person in that moment, and meeting that person also kind of brings me into that bigger, deeper place.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, you could either speak up and unmute yourself.
I think everybody's unmuted.
Unmuted.
Yeah.
Or you could write something in the chat box if that's more comfortable.
I'd like to say something.
Yeah,
Please.
Annette.
Hi. Maybe of my lack of practice in English. I had some difficulties to understand Mary Oliver's poems. Is it possible that you just can do a little summary or a little explanation of the two poems?
Oh, well, yeah. Although I can't obviously do them, you know, any kind of justice, but I can give you a synopsis of.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So you just, you know, like I said, Mary Oliver passed away a couple of years ago now, but she had for many, many years this practice of going out early in the morning and doing a kind of walkabout like I described. And so the first poem is a description of being out early one morning and 2 deer coming down the mountain to meet her. But on that particular morning, they just kept on coming towards her. She just stood there and they came right up to her. She picked up some weeds from the earth and she fed them. And she said, you know, if it had continued the way it was going, one of the deer would have jumped right into her arms. They were just kind of...
Okay, this I didn't understand. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then the other deer tapped its hoof and they ran off into the forest. And then in the second poem, she's out early in the morning, and again she sees 2 deer, but these 2 deer just behave like normal deer. You know, they ran away up into the trees and disappeared. But it reminded her of that earlier incident many years before, where the deer weren't afraid. And she just reflected that that incident many years before was really a sort of a turning point in her life, that she'd never been the same person since that encounter. And that's, so it's really a description of what happens, I think, when the natural world comes towards us of its own agency, you know, and we're able to welcome it, and how that can be transformative.
Okay, now I've understood. That first part was not really clear to me, but now it's understood. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Yes.
Actually, I have a question for Richard, who is here, who's Michael's brother, because he wrote a very interesting book with the title Anestheism, How to Find God After God Died.
You have an awful it's a tendency to put Richard on the spot.
But I was just wondering if there was a connection between what Michael was talking about and what you mean with anestheism. You have to unmute yourself. Moment.
Actually, we don't hear you, Rich. Let's see. Oh, now we hear you.
No, we don't hear you.
Oh.
Richard.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. For some reason your audio is not working. No worries. No worries. Okay.
Okay.
Just another question.
Yeah.
For how long are you intending to do this meditation on Sundays?
I don't know. We haven't really decided. I think many years ago now, it seems, when at the time of the last presidential election here in America, Radhule started these meetings every Wednesday, once a month, these solidarity and compassion meetings, and we said we'd keep going until there's a change in government, so we're still going. But so, I'm not sure we keep going quite that long, but we'll.
Hopefully we will by November. Right?
Oh well, hopefully we'll have a new government.
Well,
certainly for the time being, yeah.
Okay. I hope until November, but it would be great if it would go on, even though.
Actually, Richard, now you are unmuted. No, you're not unmuted. Okay. Maybe by next Sunday.
Yeah. Anybody else like to say anything? Anyway.
There's one more chat. Let me look.
Radhule and Michael, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. There was a question there. Let me just see if I got that. Maya, yeah, hi. You can't unmute. Okay, let's just see. Yeah, for some reason we're.
You know what is happening is that we had some trolls come into our Zoom sessions, and so we, thanks to William, thank you, William, we kind of, who is here, we increased security to prevent that. But we are still fiddling, we are still fiddling how to give the greatest amount of freedom to converse and how to make it most safe. And so William is actually here in the background. Hi, William. And
hi, folks.
Yeah,
Hi.
William. Thanks, William, for all your help. You've been amazing.
And so we will maybe find a way for next week that you will be able all to ask questions, and it still will be or give us answers. That would be cool too. And so
I'm unmuted now. Good.
you're unmuted now. What is your question?
Yes, hi. Thank you both so much. It was the very ending of the first poem from Mary Oliver, the 5 a.m. in the Pine Woods, that swim inward, and then there was the next line, something outward.
Oh, the last lines are, when I woke, I was alone. I was thinking. So it's, I was thinking, colon. So this is how you swim inward. So this is how you flow outward. So this is how you pray. There aren't any question marks. It's just.
Right, it was the flow. That's what I needed. Thank you.
Got it, okay. But look up the poem, 5 a.m. in the Pine Woods.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you all.
Nice to see you,
I want
Emma.
to say thank you very much.
And
Nice to see you, Rich. Really, maybe next week you'll be ready with that answer.
yeah, or maybe you could give part of say something if you like. It'd be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. Love you all.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Love you. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
good day.
Have a good day.
Let me put Richard on.